All right, number two, the second agent of influence here is likability. Now, when you think likability, um, this is not this does not mean I like you. This means I am like you. There's a difference. Likability does not mean I like you. It means I am like you. When you're creating likability, you want to find out exactly who your audience is and then show how you are just like them, and they will feel that you understand them better. They will feel more connected to you. I once watched this webinar of a gentleman that told his rags to riches stories. I'm sure you've run across one of these where they say, I was making nothing, I was selling water bottles, I was poor, my wife worked, I had to stay at home and take care of the kids, yada, yada, bills were piling up, yada, yada, yada. And then I stumbled on this thing, and now I'm a millionaire. The reason that he starts with the rag story is because he's showing that he's just like you. He's showing that he just came from the same place that you came from, the same struggles that you've dealt with. And when you can do that, then people can connect to that. And then you showed, hey, or the individual on the webinar shows, hey, I got out of that problem, and the individuals they're speaking to say, oh, I can do the same thing. I can get out of it just like you did. I'm like you. Funny thing, Barack Obama's approval rating skyrocketed when he went on stage with Oprah. Oprah endorsed him, tried to make him look like a small, like time person, grew up in the States, blah, blah, blah. And everybody felt that they were like him. And then all of a sudden, he doubled, tripled overnight in his popularity. So making people feel like they are like you, they'll begin to favor you. Another way of doing likability is revealing similarities. If you're able to, any similarity here works, and it really doesn't matter what it is. All the similarities work very well. It can be something as small as I have orange nails, you have orange nails. It's a funny thing when you are in driving around in your city, you'll be honking, screaming, just with along with everybody else, road rage style, right? You get out of your city, you get in, or excuse me, you get into another state, you're still road raging, but if you find somebody with the same license plate as you have from your original state, you're like, oh, hey, it's somebody else that's from there. Or if you meet them in a restaurant in another state, it's like, oh, you're from Texas. I'm from Texas. We're 10 miles away, but hey, we're all from Texas. It's awesome. You can hate the people in that state while loving the person from Texas until you get to Italy. And then when you're in Italy and find somebody from Maine or Florida, you're like, oh my God, you're just like me. We're both from the States. You will find commonalities and likabilities, similarities, no matter where you are in everybody. And that is the number one thing that creates a likable person. We do this in email all the time when sending out cold emails. If you go on some rant throwing out your offer right away, you will most likely get no response on your emails. They'll get opened, they'll get canned spam, thrown in the trash can. However, if you start out your first line in the emails with a similarity, hey, Mark, you and I are both from Texas. Boom, right out there. Hey, Mark, I found you on LinkedIn. Hey, Mark, we both have red hair. We must be Irish. Like, you start out with a similarity, and it doesn't matter whether, hey, Mark, I just realized you and I are both 40 years old. Doesn't matter what the similarity is. They will immediately feel that you are a safe, like person. So find any interest, find anything that you can with your audience. That's why we go through the ideal customer persona to figure out what that is, and then identify and highlight the similarities, the likability items in there that we can use later on. The third item under likability is the halo effect. Attractive candidates when voting politically. Up in Canada, they found that attractive candidates would get 2 to 3 times more votes. Then they would go ask the individuals that placed the vote, did you vote for them because they were uh, more attractive? Resoundingly, the voters would say, no, I did not, using harsh language. Absolutely, I would never do that. However, the attractive candidates still got 2 to 3 times more votes. So I believe that there's a lot of subconscious to that likability factor, more than you might realize. Everybody, for whatever reason, is going to find something in their life that they are like you. So when you tell your story, your epiphany story about how you came to whatever conclusion that you came to, it'll come back. If you capture people with results and then likability, they'll definitely watch the whole thing. In the same way, on the topic of that subconscious likability or halo effect, the mere exposure effect was studied. And so what happens is, what they did is they would take your picture and they'd show it to your best friend. And they would show the regular picture that was taken and then an inverted picture of you to your friend and say, which one do you like the best? Your friend would choose the picture that was that was normal, that was regular. It's how they see you every day over the inverted picture. However, you or the tested person that they took the picture of would choose the inverted image. And it's because that's what we see in the mirror is the inverse of ourselves. That's what creates likability. This is why in the value posts on Facebook, you will always see me and so many others using a picture of themselves and their family along with the post. It could have nothing to do with the post. And just having a picture of yourself or your family or with other individuals will get them liking you more. It's one of those things where the more often they see you, the more they will like you. So they don't even have to talk to you. They will just like you. They will subconsciously, you'll become a familiar thing. Interestingly enough, car salesmen will use a little bit of this tactic where the keys are not kept in the car. And so what happens is oh, you want to see this? Let me go back and get the keys. So then they'll go back in the building, go find the keys and come back out. And studying this, they found that when the salesperson came back a second time, they were liked much more than if the salesperson stayed with the individual the whole time. So getting those additional exposures, going away and coming back, going away and coming back, will get them to like you. I just tested this on my daughter when we were down in Cabo. The waves were crashing in on the beach, and she was freaking out. They were 4-foot waves or something, and she's like 2 foot nothing. So she's scared of these waves. And so we would come down within 20 feet of the beach. She'd get a little hesitant. We'd go back up to the beach house, come back down 15 minutes later. She'd get within 15 feet. Go back up, come back down. She'd get within 10 until I was able to get her down in the water. Now, it doesn't matter how long I stayed down there by the beach. At 10 feet away, she would not want to go any closer. But as soon as we went away, coming back, that 10 feet perception was gone, and she was much more willing to get closer and closer, because re-exposing yourself over and over to a thing will get you to like it more often. Now, part of the reason that we post in groups, part of the reason that we post on our personal profile page, especially with pictures of ourselves, is to get people to recognize you, to create that memory. You're getting their attention, obviously, but getting them to remember you works very well. This works so well, in fact, that you can be gone for a month and come back and begin posting again. And if you're using your picture the whole time, you'll pick up right where you left off. Matter of fact, people will even like you more if you disappear and come back. because they're getting that re-exposure to you and that re-exposure to you. Another likability factor is samesies. Oh, you have a boat, or oh, you went rock climbing, or you went to this same place that I went to. We did something that was the same. Oh, you went skydiving. I did that as well. It's another one of those similarities. In, I think, pillar 4, I'm going to teach you the tricks of the webinar, and we're going to integrate a lot of these items that I'm going over today into the webinar. And one of those items that we're going to go over is a common goal against a common enemy. This is another way to create a likability factor. So in your epiphany story, you start off by saying, hey, we both started here in a hell. And then we both had this idea, this prevailing knowledge. And then I realized it was destroyed. And I realized it was because of this common enemy. And that's the problem, that common enemy. This is how I overcame it. And that's part of the epiphany story. So having a common enemy with an individual is the exact same way that you can begin to like somebody. And I'm sure that this happens in war when allies come against each other and it's like, oh, we're in a war zone, but you're fighting the same people I'm fighting. I'm confident they would be friends. In group buys, so we value the people in our group higher than people outside of our group. So if you can show your customers that you're in the same group as them, or include them in your group, right? If here's a beautiful way, that same T-shirt company that I was telling you about, everything was based off of the loyalty of veterans. So they created T-shirts for veterans, and because the veterans were in this exclusive group, they now felt that other veterans are like me, they're in this group, and they're buying this T-shirt. So I want to be a part of that as well. I want to show that I'm in that group. It's a great tactic that when you're picking your audience, you pick a polarizing topic. If you were to pick something like the best group out there, veterans and the Second Amendment, people that are saying, I love my guns, because you either love guns or you hate guns. There's very few people that are like, could care less. That's a very polarizing topic, and it creates two different groups. It's the same way why there's very few people in political voting that actually switch from one group to another. They end up saying, this is my group, and I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to vote by it. I don't care who it is. I'm voting by it. Celebrity associations is another way that you can increase your likability. If they like the celebrity and that celebrity likes you, they've just passed on the endorsement to you saying, hey, this guy is chosen, he's proven, he's in our group, like him as well. And then you receive the value of that celebrity. Oh, the artful damaging admission. So this is a tricky one. A lot of what I'm doing right now is teaching you about the attractive character. You are creating an attractive character. You see this in marketing a lot, where you've got mayhem for some insurance thing where trees are falling and he's always there. He's the mayhem that's causing all these problems. Or you've got the gecko. You've got, every brand has some attractive character all the time that is representing the product. So you have the product and you have the attractive character. You have the business, the offer, and the attractive character. Now, while the business and the offer and the solution that you're going to get is infallible, it's perfect, it is better than anything else out there, the attractive character is flawed. It's two very different things there. So what you're doing on social media is that you're showing that you're human. You're showing that you're flawed. You're showing that you're just like them. But the offer you're promoting is perfect. It's the best. There's nothing wrong with it. See the difference? So when you do this artful, damaging admission, what you're saying is, I'm flawed. I'm just like you, but that flawedness, that failure, that imperfection has a silver lining. And so it's the same guy that had to have a similarity with his audience, that what he was working out, And he was like, let me show you you're overweight. Let me show you how to lose weight and get fit. And his audience would come back and again and say, you don't understand what it's like to be fat. Therefore, I'm not going to take your advice. You can't help me. So then he went on some eating binge, got fat, lots of publicity, lots of pictures, lots of photography, lots of interviews, lots of stuff. I'm fat. I was fit. Now I'm fat. And then he went on his program and showed the world, I'm going to get fit in this amount of time, and I'm going to use this program in order to get there. And so what he did was show that he was flawed. He was not perfect fit all the time. He was able to get fat just like them. He was like them. These tactics are not just for when you're creating an offer or when you're out there marketing. You really need to be using these tactics in your daily life. You need to be thinking about them all the time and make them a natural natural part of your everyday life. For example, if you have the option to get an introduction with a company through somebody else versus going direct and setting up a meeting with that person directly, always choose to get the introduction. Always. They say that 80% of people that get hired do so because they knew somebody in the company. A perfect example of that is that back when I was software engineering, I would use this tactic of the top 100, or it's like your 100 best list of people you want to work with. And so you pick 100 people. It's like, these are the 100 people I want to work with. And then you basically stalk them. Okay, so you'd pick 100 companies. You'd find every single individual in that company. You'd friend them on Facebook. You would find if you found out that they were bouldering at a certain gym, you would go there. If you found out that they had a certain routine, you would pick up that same routine. You would read all of their material, all their newsletters that came out, all their blogs, everything. You'd comment on it all the time. And the idea behind this is that you wanted, obviously, to use all this likability and this re-exposure factor. What I did is I used that strategy. And on this one particular company, I'm liking and sending my resume, not just to the hiring individual. I sent my resume to, I think, 20 people in that company, the managers of the completely wrong departments. I was going for a management position, and I was sending my resume to other managers that would have been my colleagues. It ended up that after I got hired there, one of the colleague managers said, hey, I found your resume in the recycle bin. You sent it to the department. They canned your resume. So I took it out of the garbage, took it down to the CEO and said, hey, you need to have a look at this guy. My point is that it was the endorsement. It was that somebody in there knew of me. That was the reason that I got the job. And it wasn't because the CEO found my resume in the garbage. Had he done that, same resume, same person, I would not have gotten hired. However, because the other manager found it and brought it to him, that endorsement is what got me hired. So when you have the option to get an endorsement, do it. Same exact thing applies if you ever get a speaking engagement and you ever end up on stage. Always have the individual that put together the speaking, the event, whatever it is, introduce you. Somebody of value introduce you coming onto stage and giving you a ton of value while you're doing it. And that endorsement will help you close more deals at that speaking event than anything else. Telling stories. The stories you tell establish your level. Showing up in their availability more often. Obviously, this feeds into a lot of things that I've just been mentioning. So show up more often. You'll see me get on, just go crazy, just posting quotes on social media, posting statements to use that reach as well to get in front of individuals. So a lot of times what I'll do is use the exact same comment card that's familiar. I use my exact same colors. It's why you have a branding guide. It's why you have brand colors that you're trying to use all the time to create that familiarity and to be showing up all the time. They say that it takes between 7 and 37 exposures with an individual before they buy. Between 7 and 37. This gentleman that is a super affiliate. He does some crazy millions of dollars annually with his email list. He had 4 million people on his email list at one point. Realized that he needed to boil that down because there was only a small percentage that actually purchasing. I think his list is something like 500,000 now. He emails them twice a day. You would think they'd get tired of that. But because they see it more often, if they're going to take action, then they want it. And it's that familiarity. Now they get in a cycle of opening it, opening it. They found with sending out newsletters that if you send one a week, people are less likely to open it. If you send them one a month, they'll start sending you to the spam folder. If you send them newsletters every single day, emails every single day, they will like you more. So showing up in their availability. The Facebook feed, their wall is exactly the same. So if you're getting on their wall, when you go comment on their wall and they comment back, Facebook says, hey, these two individuals made a connection. Therefore, I'm probably going to suggest that this individual see your posts more often as well, because they may have come back to your profile. And when they look at your profile page, Facebook is going to say, oh, they're interested in each other right now. So I'm going to show each other more often. So when you see other people coming into your feed, comment. When you go through your feed, comment on everything. Comment, like, no holds barred. Comment, like, engage with everything, because all of that engagement you're giving out is going to come back and it's going to increase your engagement. So another interesting tactic is that one study found that, and this is expected, that if you ran an advertisement about a story about your business before you actually showed your ad to your customers, you would increase the potential or the conversion rate by 2 times. If you showed them 2 story ads about your brand before you showed them your advertisement, it went up 2.5 to 3 times. And the more and more stories that were told, the more marketing that was done before the ad was actually shown, the more likely the individuals were to purchase. And that just lays into that 7 to 37. The reason I tell you the story about the super affiliate with his giant email list is because he found that he could email people once to twice a day for up to 2 years. And people that had never purchased before would purchase from him 2 years later. That's something like what? 1,400 times that they saw his name before they actually opened up an email and purchased something. So never count anybody out. One of the biggest things in email newsletter and spamming when you're sending out a ton of emails is that if you pick 4,000 people, you email them the first time, day one, everybody, you'd get a conversion rate of 10%. Okay. In a week, if you email that list again, you'd get a conversion rate of 10%. In another week, all different customers. In a third week, you email the entire list again, you get a conversion rate of 10%. Every single time you email, even though you have the 10% dropping off every week because they already purchased, in the next week you email them all, you would get a consistent conversion rate. The number of leads that you got were just higher and higher every time. So you would almost be able to email that list of 4,000. And if they didn't spam block you, you could email them for a year or two, and nearly every single person on that list of 4,000 would eventually buy from you. So think of it that way. When you're adding people to your friends list, don't ever count them out. Follow up with them. They just need to know you a little better.